Hello, everyone, and welcome to From Darkness to Love and Light. Today, I have a guest named Rachel Grace. Rachel is a healing facilitator of many different modalities. She is also someone that I have met over the past year, and our connection, I feel, was like really meant to be on so many different levels. Um, Rachel actually went to a retreat. I think it was back in February, if I'm not mistaken. I'll let her confirm that as we when she comes on. But it really transformed her life, and it just offered her so much support, and it also offered her the opportunity to enter into a contest to be in a book. And the contest was essentially stories of women who had changed their lives and could inspire others. She won a place in this book called Second Act, Seven Stories of Strength. And Rachel actually had shared the contest details with me. And so both of us are very proud to be authors of this amazing, amazing book. Um, anyway, I will stop right there and allow Rachel to come on and share her story and share her information.
Yeah.
Hi, Rachel.
Hi, Linda. It's so nice to be here with you. Yes, I went to a retreat in February in Georgia with Von Piero. She was the retreat leader, and there were like 29 other women there. And when I got to Von's house prior to the retreat, a woman knocked at the door and had dropped off all of these clipboards and informational packets. And Vaughn kind of like burst back into the kitchen and was so excited. And she said this woman, Laura, created all of these packets for us to have at the retreat and was encouraging all of the participants to follow the prompts and share their stories and enter this contest that she was doing. And so, yeah, it really caught me by surprise how kind it was of this woman, Laura, who ended up putting the book together, how
Mhm.
kind it was for her to do this for us,
Yeah.
because she knew Vaughn was hosting the retreat and Laura lived like right down the street. So she just like was that sweet neighbor that just showed up, the day
Mm.
before the retreat with these packets, and Vaughn brought them all to the retreat, and it just encouraged us to write. And I it took me a while to write my story. I mean, I didn't do it right away. In fact, I think I encouraged you to enter,
Yes.
and then and you submitted your piece, and then I actually submitted mine like way after you did. But you writing your piece, actually, I don't know if I ever told you this, Linda, but your piece inspired me to write mine,
Oh,
because I remember thinking, well, before you did yours, I was like, I I don't know. This is too hard. What am I going to write about? And also, like, how am I going to fit this into, like, what was it, 1,200 words?
yeah.
Or I was like,
Which is
no,
really
no, no,
hard to
no.
do. Really
Oh
hard
my
to do.
God, it was so hard to do.
I know.
And I just remember thinking, like, no, I'm never going to win. No, 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 no. And then, I don't know. And I saw you did yours so fast. And I was just so impressed. And I was like, oh, maybe I'll just try it. And this came out. And so, I'm just I'm excited to be on here sharing my story and
Mm.
to be a part of this book with six other women who shared their stories as well.
Yeah. It's just a
Hmm.
beautiful book. It's just like incredible, the strength of all the women too. And plus I love the fact that there's the mindset journal at the back of it too. So it's kind of like any of the stories that you might listen to. I mean, one of those might just really speak to you, and then you can kind of do your own little journaling about it or whatever at the back of the book too. So it's such a cool thing to have
Hmm.
along with it, I think.
Absolutely. Like, I think we all have a story inside of us that
Mhm.
wants to come out through the written word or the spoken word. I think we all have that storyteller within us. And this just really like proves that, and this empowers people to play around with that and get creative and so many of us have like writing trauma, from when we were in school and like our
Right.
teacher would be like, marking things up with a red pen or whatever. But at the end of the day, I mean, we all have stories to share, and it
Mhm.
doesn't have to look like Shakespeare or, you know, who Stephen King or whoever. But
True.
like there's still power in sharing our stories, and I
Yes.
think that's the beautiful thing about this book.
Right, exactly. And it's funny how it's like it's exactly what my whole podcast is about too. It's just, women sharing their stories of being in those dark times and
Hmm.
finding love and light in their lives. And I think that it's the same thing with this book. It's all just inspiration and hope and belief that you can change. You can be better. You can be healthier. So
Hmm.
it's kind of cool.
Yeah, and sometimes it takes writing it all out to even like fully understand, um, like I guess to writing can kind of help process an experience, which I think is what happened for me when I wrote this. It kind of helped process the experience of the retreat and
Hmm.
process some of the things that I was going through.
Right.
Um, and that in and of itself is so powerful.
Yeah, exactly. Because yeah, it's true. Because I remember you saying about the retreat and how, you really just wanted to bail at one point,
Oh, yeah.
like, and it's like, thank God you
Yeah.
didn't, because look at how much it gave to you, like it was so powerful. And I think just looking back, it's just that recognizing of what all that meant for you, like just so
Hmm.
incredibly powerful. I wish I was there,
Yeah.
but
I
maybe
wish
one
you'd been
day.
there too. Hopefully in the future well, you and I will be at a retreat together. I will get to meet you in person
Yes,
someday, hopefully.
absolutely. That is the plan. We are going to do
That
that.
is the plan. Yes.
All right, my love. Well, if you are ready, I would love for you to read your story for us.
Okay. Well, this is called Sacred Rage, and again, this is about my experience at the ARC retreat in February. So, without further ado, here I
Mhm.
go. Moonlight filters in through the screened-in porch as I scream into the belly of a gong. I'm on my knees, pounding my fists on the floor, bracing myself as foreign sounds erupt from deep within. My throat is sore and I'm feverish, but there is something sacred about this release, and my body is giving way. My jaw is popping and my ears are opening to the sound of my screams as they dance with the vibrations of the gong. I don't know how long I've been here, maybe 5, 10 minutes. I open my eyes, and 29 other women are circled in front of me. We are at a retreat in Gainesville, Georgia. It is our last night together, and we are making every scream, every cry, every sway of our bodies, every strike of the gong count. It's a full moon in Virgo, a time to alchemize our pain. Virgo is the sign of the goddess, who wants nothing more than to heal, forgive, and nurture. She teaches us that we are here to radiate our gifts into the world, but first we must recognize them. We must heal the wound of perfectionism. In the years leading up to this retreat, I had received so many messages about releasing perfectionism and control. Messages which were sent in the form of car accidents, concussions, and deaths. More recently, I had opened my heart to a connection with a higher power through divination tools such as crystals and oracle cards. Messages were coming to me in a much gentler form now. Spirit whispered words like surrender, flow, and fall into my arms. I had manifested attending this retreat. I had promised myself at the end of 2023 that 2024 would be my year of transformation. But what I craved most was also what I feared most. My ego wanted control to project strength and poise even in the most tragic circumstances. My spirit wanted to be vulnerable and soft. She wanted to be nurtured. My spirit and my ego had been doing a dangerous dance for decades, one that had resulted in divorce, an abusive relationship with alcohol, and myriad forms of disease, including migraines, back pain, and stomach issues. I had signed up for this retreat to find balance. I was tired of being split in two. I was ready to heal and ready to feel whole again. The night of this 4-day retreat, I found myself in an upstairs bathroom planning my escape. We were about to begin the opening ceremony. I wanted to book the next flight out of Georgia and return to my familiar life back in Vermont. I was ready to run away from an experience that I had coveted because I didn't want to lose control, especially in front of over 24 women, all of whom I had just met in person within the past 24 hours. I knew I was going to cry, and I didn't want them to witness that. What would they think of the screeches bellowing out of me? What would they say about the way that I looked crumpled on the floor? I had been told by some of the other women that I would cry, and that nearly everyone else would too, but that I would feel safe and be held, and I would be celebrated for crying. Celebrated for crying? For being out of control? This concept was foreign to me. I had been programmed to hold it together, and I had witnessed how scary rage and release can be. As a child, I feared drowning. I would throw up in my towel before swimming lessons. My young mind never pieced together that I had already been drowning for years. There was a pressure cooker of emotions that sizzled at home, and I knew better than to add to the pot. As I got older, I learned to engineer levees to prevent the vomiting and the semblance of loss of control. In high school, I was silent and almost robotic. In college, I hid in my dorm room at night and kept my nose in my books. I got so good at this game that I only felt others' emotions and not my own. That was safer. I people pleased to keep things stable. In my late 20s, I picked up drinking, and it was then that my emotions began to surge like a thundering wave. It was then that I entered a 15-year love affair with alcohol. I saw alcohol as an elixir that gave me superpowers, the ability to feel, and a permission slip to say whatever I wanted. But as of the weekend of this retreat, I was no longer drinking. I had been alcohol-free for 3 weeks, and I was flying to a stranger's home to meet 30 women without a bottle of wine or a few rounds of gin and tonics lubricating my system. This seemed like madness, but it was actually self-preservation. No, more than that, it was resurrection. Preservation was important. My brother had died of alcoholism, and I was on track to follow the same fate. But I didn't want to just survive a few more decades. I wanted to thrive and to help others do the same. And I couldn't do that without excavating the higher version of myself. This retreat was a safe space to finally bring her back to life. Back at the retreat, the levees will no longer hold. I brace myself on the floor and I wail. And when I'm done, it feels as though a layer of grief has been scraped off the surface. Lauren, one of the women working the retreat, comes up to me and says, "It's okay. You don't have to try to be so strong all the time." My soul, which feels like it has calcified over the years, begins to soften. It was the hardening that caused me to feel split in two all along. We associate being hard with being strong, and yet ice can break, water cannot. Jill is shredding her mallet from playing the gong so hard, and later she will talk about how her arms didn't even get tired. The circle of women surrounds us. Some of them are screaming, some of them are crying, some are attending to others, holding them, rocking back and forth with them, bearing witness to their sacred rage. Stretching behind us is Lake Lanier. It is carrying our screams and cries, intermingled with the gong sounds for miles. My surrender, my release feels complete. I make eye contact with Jill, and we both smile. She continues shredding her mallet on the gong, ready for the next woman to get up and kneel behind it as I had, and as the other woman before me had. I put my hand on Jill's shoulder and then walk back to my yoga mat, feeling lifetimes lighter.
Wow.
Ooh, I got chills at the end of reading that.
Because it was so incredibly powerful. Like, I just, I remember hearing from you guys, like talking about it, like afterwards, and I could hear the power that it had on you. Like,
Mhm.
it truly was such a magical situation. Like, it just was something else, like,
Mhm.
I mean, we all, like, we know, well, not, I shouldn't say we all know, but there's a lot of support in, sound therapy and frequencies and all of that stuff. And the gong is just another way that offers that support to you, like, and it's sort of something that you wouldn't really think about. You would think it to be like soft music or something like that, that would be more therapeutic or whatever. But I guess just pounding on that gong just is like getting all of the shit that was stuck inside of you out of you, like it just allowed you
Mhm.
that, right? Instead of being like, okay, maybe a little tear here and there, but like, no, like, uh, what an experience that must have been. What, like, just such a powerful experience. I can't even,
It really was. It took me by surprise.
yeah, yeah, I can imagine. I just like, and did you know ahead of time that that was going to be part of the itinerary at all, or?
I knew that there was going to be a sound bath, and to me,
Mm.
that sounds like you said, very gentle and like,
Hmm.
just like it's. I thought it was going to be like you're just laying on the floor and they're playing relaxing music and like, you're kind of meditating and that's it. But this was so different. I mean, the gong, I had experienced a little bit with like the singing bowls,
Yeah.
but the gong, for me, the gong just stirs something up within me.
Hmm.
And like I went on this journey with it. I don't know how else to explain it.
Hmm.
And Jill is just amazing. And when I say she was like shredding her mouth on the gong, like that wasn't me. That wasn't a metaphor. Like she literally played the gong so hard during that particular sound bath that I was just talking about, which was the last night,
Hmm.
that she showed us like the mallet was like it, all the whatever the top of it is wrapped in. I don't know if it's like suede, but
Okay.
it
Yeah.
had just completely like unraveled.
Wow.
And her arms, she played it for, I don't know, 45 minutes.
Ooh.
Her arms weren't tired
Right.
because something was moving through her.
Yeah.
Um, and it just kind of goes to show how like those moments are beyond us. Like we're almost
Hmm.
just the like the vessel that something needs to kind of move through to kind of get us to a next level,
Right. Exactly.
if that makes any sense at all.
It does. It does. But it's allowing yourself to be open to that, right? Like, I think there's so much opportunity for us to heal and improve in so many ways, but we have to be open to it. And it's there's so much power out there, like, in the
Mhm.
universe, and just, you've how can we not how can we think that what is just here on this planet is all that there is, like that.
Mhm.
We have to be open to, there is a lot more, and having that energy that came through Jill to get her through that 45 minutes. I mean, that is something else. That was, like you say, that was given to her. That was powered through her so that she
Yeah.
could keep going to serve everyone who was there, like, I mean, that
Mhm.
mallet shredding like that, that's huge. I mean, that just explains just
Yeah.
how much power she put into it, and to do that, like that. I mean, obviously her mallets don't shred like that every single time she plays the gong, So this was something more. It was
No.
something that was guided, you know. So incredible.
Yeah, I'm getting chills still because you're right.
Mm,
I mean, it was the last night of the retreat, and at that point, Vaughn felt like some of us hadn't released enough, and she wanted us to kind of get our money's worth. Like,
right.
some of us had flown from California, some of us had
Yeah.
flown to Georgia from Vermont, or driven 5 or 6 hours to get
Right.
there. Some of us did live close by, but a lot, like many, and 30 of us had come together, and she had gotten up and was like stomping her feet before this ceremony started. She was stomping her feet and just being like, stop playing small.
Mm,
Like, I don't play that way. Like, I need you to stand up. This is your last night. Make the most of it. And it
mm,
was the full moon.
mm,
Um, and it was like, it was just kind of like, this is your chance. Like, you came here to transform. Like, are you going to step up or not? And a lot of women, I think, like me, they were kind of used to playing small and not wanting to make sound and not wanting to look weird,
yeah.
not wanting to think, not wanting, and a lot of these women are Southern. And so, perception is a huge thing in the South. Like, how do people perceive me? I have
Yeah.
to be put together.
Yeah.
I can't be messy.
Right.
And there were a lot of women who just, she would go up to them and be like, come on, come on, come on, let it go. And like, they couldn't. And
Mm,
so she had this idea earlier that day that for those of us who, didn't want to make these loud noises, like to let these emotions come out of us in a way that was so conspicuous, she
mhm,
thought, what if they go behind the gong and then nobody will be able to hear them? Well,
mm,
not nobody, but they won't sound as loud because they'll literally be behind the gong, and like the
right.
gong will drown out their sound. And
Right.
it did. It drowned out the sound. So, like, they couldn't hear me screaming, but I could hear myself. And then behind me was the lake, and everybody on the lake could hear me because the sound carried over the water. And
Mm,
actually, somebody came and knocked at the door, um, and complained.
right.
So, because we were in a screened in porch. So,
Mm. Oh, that would carry. Yeah.
yeah, we had to stop at that point.
Right.
Yeah. But,
Wow.
for me, and I don't know who, I can't remember who else was able to get up and go behind the gong. I think there were only maybe 3 or 4 of us total. But
Oh,
those of us who
really?
did it,
Oh, I didn't know that.
yeah,
I thought
because that,
everyone. Okay.
no, I think the intent was for anybody who hadn't felt that sense of release,
Right.
for this to be their last chance before the
Mm,
retreat ended. But because somebody came and complained, we had to
mhm,
stop. And
right.
so I don't know, maybe 5 max, but out of 30 of us, again, yeah, it wasn't everyone, and the intent wasn't for everyone. It was really for those of us who hadn't.
Okay.
And I will say there are people that who were holding back, like I was, that did get to, but there may have been, I don't know, but there may have been others that wanted to and just couldn't,
Right. I mean,
um
I
because we
think
got
though,
interrupted.
what's that?
Because we got interrupted by that man who
Oh, yeah,
came and complained.
exactly.
I think I told you about that.
Yes, you did. I mean, like, really, just whatever. Stupid.
Yeah.
But obviously for me, I look at it and just think that those that did get the opportunity to do it were the ones who were supposed to be doing it. Maybe anybody else who
Hmm.
didn't, maybe they just weren't ready yet, and it was put into it that you guys were the ones that got that opportunity because you really needed it the most. I mean, where like so prior, because you'd already kind of were on your way to, changing your life and what have you in different ways, but prior to and then after, how much difference did you feel in yourself? Like how did you feel about yourself spiritually, mentally, whatever, physically or whatever after that event?
I felt like a completely, I mean, I wouldn't say I felt like a completely different person because the core of who we are is always there. But I
Hmm.
felt like I shed a lot of the layers that weren't
Hmm.
serving me.
Right.
I was able to kind of like really cut through some of the crap, the things that we do to kind of, appear a certain way, or the things that we do to kind of like appease other people.
Hmm.
I let a lot of that go.
Right.
And I also let go of a lot of grief that I'd been holding on to, things that had
Hmm.
happened, within the few months leading up to that, things that had happened, during my childhood. That was like a lot of that came out in that scream.
Hmm. Yeah.
And so it was interesting because it was the sound of the gong that made me feel safe enough to let it go, and the sound
Hmm.
of the gong that like kind of entered my body, the vibrations entered my body and like broke things up, the way they
Hmm.
talk about like even like something like ultrasound waves will go in and break things up, in your
Yeah.
body.
Yeah.
Like if you need that for like say you're in physical therapy and they take the ultrasound and it breaks up the tissue, well, it's
Yeah.
like the gong vibrations like got into my body and they broke up some of that crap, and I was able to like scream it out and like
Hmm.
have a physical representation of it.
Hmm.
um and it felt so good. But I will say, like, I was sick. I had gotten
Hmm.
some kind of a cold. So I had had a fever that day
Hmm.
and the day before. I was really sick. I had an awful sore throat. I was losing my voice. And yet the sounds still erupted out of me. And up until I went behind the gong and screamed, anytime I spoke, I was like coughing. You know how that can happen.
Hmm.
Um, but I didn't cough once when I was behind that gong screaming. And I
Wow.
don't know how long I was back there. Like I said, maybe 5 minutes, maybe 10.
Hmm.
But I screamed almost the whole time, and I was like pounding I mean, again, like it's not an exaggeration. I was pounding my fists on the floor, and I was just like letting it all go. And it felt so, so good.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, I definitely felt lighter. I was sick for like a good 2 weeks after.
Hmm.
Um, I rested a lot after that retreat. One thing about going to a retreat is make sure that, you have time to integrate what
Hmm.
happens to you, especially if it's as powerful as that one.
Right.
Um, because there's an integration period.
Hmm.
But I was able to do that and rest, and I'm forever changed by it. I
Yeah.
really am. And I'm not the kind of person who like has moments like that or says that lightly. Like, trust me, I'm
Hmm.
very skeptical. I'm
Yeah.
very like, I'm always, scanning around, scanning the room, like, is that person being like dramatic or is that real? Like, this was just beyond me.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't know what
You're
else to
very
say
reserved.
except
You're very reserved,
I can be very reserved.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so it's like, I can see how that would be such a huge thing for you to let go, like just be like, oh my,
Hmm.
yeah, it just,
Right.
and
Yeah.
what the thing is, it's like, I mean, obviously not everybody is going to be in a place or know somebody that can actually, go to a session where there's a gong or what have you. But I remember hearing people like, you know, ways of doing something similar, and that just get in your car, bring a pillow, drive
Yeah.
somewhere where there's like nobody around or whatever, and scream into that pillow and hit the steering wheel. And
Mhm.
it's just reminding me of that right now, because that's an important thing that you could release a
Mhm.
heck of a lot. And I probably should do it myself, because there's still like, stuff inside of me that I need to still let go of. I think there always will be. We'll never be perfect. And but that would be similar to the gong experience, like in a way, kind of thing. Like, or maybe
Mhm.
you can bring a headset and listen to a gong while you
Yes.
smash the pillow and scream into the pillow and do whatever, but we got
Yeah.
to let go. We can't keep that
Yeah.
shit inside of us. We need to let it out. We need to let it go.
No.
And if you're not in a situation where
Mhm.
you can do it in a retreat or whatever, that is another option to do. Just bring a pillow, scream into the
Mhm.
pillow, drive somewhere, that you're in a parking lot that,
I know.
at the mall or something where when the mall's closed or whatever, like, but hopefully nobody will see you.
I know. It's tough. It's tough because like you don't want somebody to think that you're like, in trouble or like are
Right.
causing trouble. It's like, but you need, yeah. I mean, I got really upset the other day after a conversation with somebody and I had to go somewhere and I was in my car and I turned the music up and I just screamed because I knew nobody could hear me in my car.
Right.
I'm trying to be better about that instead of just holding it into my body because what happens is it gets trapped in there and then it contributes to that dis-ease, back pain, whatever migraines,
Absolutely.
whatever it is.
Yeah.
And so yeah, you need to like transmute it to something else. And so that's one of the things I learned from this.
Mhm.
And I think for me, it was particularly powerful because I'd never, ever, ever been to a retreat before.
Mhm.
I was new on my sort of spiritual journey.
Right.
And I had been very isolated for years leading up to that point. And
Mhm.
so I hadn't been to a lot of women's circles or I hadn't done a lot with these online communities that, you and I are both doing now.
Yeah.
None of that stuff, all of this was really new to me. And I just was like, I have to do something or else,
Yeah.
like this is a big turning point for me. So I think for me, I'm not saying going to a retreat is going to be powerful for everybody, but I do think that there is something to be said for pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone and like reframing your thoughts, your feelings about anger, about
Mhm.
crying, about
Yeah.
about releasing emotion, like
Yeah.
examining it, looking at it, getting curious about it and being like, okay, what are the messages I was taught about this and
Mhm.
how can I maybe like reframe that and use it to my advantage to help release and to to feel more, I guess, whole or to feel
Mhm.
lighter, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think too, like you were saying about like being in women's circles and stuff like that. I had never really done that, but I think once you get to a point in your life where you are growing, whatever way that might be, um, being with like-minded people is so important. Um,
Mm-hmm.
we change. Everybody changes, and like I am not the same person I was 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 3 years ago. I've changed a lot in the last 10 years, I would say. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and relationships change, with different people, whether it be friends, family, or whatever. Like, we just, you don't sort of, you're not on the same wavelength, the same frequency, and the
Mm-hmm.
groups, like our group with Dana Whitby, um, like I know I was going to take a pause over the summer months or whatever because I thought, I think I'm okay and stuff. And then the last one that we had, I think it was in June, it was
Mm-hmm.
so powerful with being with that circle of women that I was like,
Mm.
okay, this is 44, what is it, $44 a month with Dana for
Yeah,
Dana's group? That's cheaper than a freaking therapy session for shit's sakes, And
that's true.
the strength and support that you get from these women who
Mm-hmm.
are all like-minded is
Mm-hmm.
is so powerful. And I mean, so it's another thing that you can do to help yourself too is just like there's women's support groups all over the place on the internet. There's everywhere. But I mean,
Yeah.
like I'm in Canada. Dana's, where is she? North Carolina?
North Carolina.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're in Rhode Island. Like, I
I'm
mean,
in Rhode Island now. Yeah.
we don't need to be near one another. Hopefully one day we will get to meet each other all in person. But I
Yeah.
mean, we still have
Yeah.
this sisterhood or whatever, this love for one another and empathy for one
Mm-hmm.
another when someone's telling a story or doing whatever. It's true care, and you can literally feel it over the Zoom calls
Mm.
or whatever. You can so feel it, like,
Mm-hmm.
so it's
Mm-hmm.
powerful. Like those are the kinds of things that they're little things that you can do for yourself too, right? Like, but they're
Yeah,
special,
absolutely.
you know? But
Absolutely. I mean, it's it's so cliche, but like investing in yourself really pays off.
mhm,
Um,
it does.
I don't know how, I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to say it without sounding cliche, but like it really does. It really does pay off. And I think about the $44 a month thing, and then I was like, well, it's like if I go to Starbucks every day and it's like $5 each time,
Yeah,
like, do I need to do that? Could I put that money towards something else? Like, can I make the coffee at home? Like there's just,
yeah,
and this is not an advertisement for anything. It's literally just how it's all about like shifting that perspective and just
yeah,
looking at something from a different angle. And if you decide that no, you literally do want that coffee every day and you want that instead of like joining something that's 44, then that's fine. Like there's no
right.
judgment
Whatever,
here,
yeah.
right?
Oh, no, exactly.
But yeah, but like if you want to look at it from that other angle and maybe give it a shot, like I
Mhm.
just think there is so much power in community and we can feel so alone.
Yes.
Post COVID, so many more things are online. It can feel kind of weird,
Hmm.
but I feel like I have, again, I was very isolated when I was in Vermont, and I do feel like these online communities have really created so much support for me and so much connection.
Yeah.
And, uh, Linda, you and I have never met in person, but I feel like you're one of my closest confidants and friends. And
Mhm.
so, there's nothing wrong with that. Like our 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 society, like the world is changing with this
Yeah.
technology, and we can either embrace it
Yeah.
and use it to our advantage to connect
Hmm.
with others, or we can like look at it and be like, no, that's so stupid. But either way, it's still going to happen. So
That's right.
how do you want it to show up in your life?
Yeah.
That's kind of how I look at it.
No, I agree. I mean, like, you are so important to me. Like, I love you with all my heart. Like,
Oh,
shit, I'm gonna cry. I am such a suck. Oh my
you
God.
can cry.
I know, but I have
I
to
said
make,
that to my mom the other day. It's like it's okay to cry, cry. Like let's celebrate crying.
I know. Except I
Let
have
out let out a
makeup on because
scream.
I have to go out later.
You don't want to ruin your beautiful makeup.
Yeah. Jeez. Oh my God, how mean. That's terrible. Um, but yeah, like, it's just, but we haven't met in person. But maybe that's the whole point. Like, it's just that this is sort of what the new life looks like or whatever. And it also then gives us an opportunity of a goal to look forward to say, you know what? We are going to meet in person one day, some way,
Yeah,
somehow, somewhere.
yeah,
We're going to do it. And so you've
yeah,
just opened up a door of new friendships with people, and
yeah,
find a meeting place. I mean, maybe the group that you join, maybe you're in Canada and the group you joined is in Australia. Well, that doesn't mean that you can't
yeah,
meet those people in Australia one day, right? Like, it's just
yeah,
whatever you connect with, and the opportunities are there. So it's kind of cool, like, for sure. And would I also want you to be able to talk about too, what you do and what you offer for people too, because you are a crystal curator, and that is just like the coolest
yeah.
thing, which I love. I love that you do that because it's so different.
Mm,
I don't know anybody else who does that. So, um, maybe
mm,
share a little bit about, what you offer to help other
mm.
people too.
Yeah. So I know it's hard to talk about what I do because like it's there's nothing out there like that I've ever seen like it. And so I'm just like, what are the words that I can use to describe this in a way that people are going to understand it? So sometimes I call myself a crystal matchmaker
Yeah.
because I kind of like match people with the crystals that
Yeah.
might work best for them at this time in their life.
Mhm.
I do that by doing crystal oracle card readings. And so I have a deck that is all crystals, and I'll do it's similar to tarot, but a lot more free form. And I kind of call in well, the client and I call in the energy that is really needing to come forward in their life in the form of crystals to be their allies as they're, going through hard times, or they're buying a new home and they want to put some crystals in there to enhance the energy, or they're starting a business, or, they're going through a breakup, or they're having health issues. And so that's one of the services that I offer. I also, will sell crystals without doing readings. I post them on Instagram. I also do what I call vibrational attunements, which are kind of like Reiki. I use a pendulum to assess a person's chakras and see which ones are maybe out of balance or blocked. And then once I do that assessment, I use different modalities to kind of bring those chakras back into balance.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm working on a few like new things because I'm just that kind of person.
Yeah.
So I'm actually going to be, I know Dana hasn't told anybody this yet, but I don't think she's going to mind. I'm going to be offering something in her membership in September called like a moving meditation.
Ooh.
Where we're going to be, it's going to be unstructured kind of physical movement, similar to the goddess yoga that
Right.
Jess offered, but a little bit different. People can turn their cameras off. I'll have mine on, and we'll go through the body and go through the chakras and kind of feel our way through it in our body and move in ways that feel good. And I'll draw like oracle cards as I do it to kind of
Mm.
really bring in collective messaging about what needs to be released.
Oh, I love that.
So I'm kind of calling that like mindful meditation. I'm
Mm.
not, sorry, moving meditation,
Moving
excuse me.
meditation. I love that.
Yeah. And then I've been working on for a while creating a membership similar to Dana's, but it'll be different.
Mm.
And it's very much about going through a spiritual awakening or reawakening. And it's going to be called Awake and Raw.
Mm.
And it's going to be for women, again, on their spiritual awakening journey. And they can be at the beginning, middle, and again, like a reawakening, but a place where we can learn about all those things that like come with a spiritual awakening, like what food is better to eat,
Mm.
ditching some of the substances like alcohol, cigarettes, uh, oracle readings, the Akashic records, all the buzzwords people talk about when you're early in those stages of spiritual awakening,
Right.
decompressing and integrating after a retreat.
Mm.
Um, I have a whole list, but
Cool.
Reiki, all of it. So that's something that I'm hoping to launch in September. It's just been, I've had a lot going on in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And as Linda knows, and as many of you may know, when you're an entrepreneur, you are the CEO, the CFO, you're the advertising executive, you're, you do the writing, you do the book, you're the accountant. And it's like, it's both exhilarating and like exhausting at the same time.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you feel like this, Linda, but some days I'm just like, I need somebody to help me because I
Oh,
have
yeah.
all these ideas and
Yeah.
I need somebody to help me execute them, or I need somebody to do the accounting. But then it's like, well, that takes money,
That's right.
and so
It's
yeah.
hard
And
when
so
you're
it's,
starting out. I know.
yeah,
I like the other day I was like, I think I need a secretary for my podcast.
I, I know me too. I'm like, could I get an assistant to help me like with my social media, accounting,
Yeah.
like I need like somebody to help me pack crystal orders, like,
Yeah.
and then I'm just like, well, how am I going to pay them? And then it's like, I could pay them in crystals.
That's right. Exactly. I know. It's really difficult. Like, and we're both in the same sort of, you know, place or whatever, where all we want to do is we want to try to help others in some way,
Yeah, that's all I want to do.
Yeah. And I mean, but it's like with the crystal bracelets that I make, it's the same thing. Like, it's like,
Yeah.
I'm trying to do this and I'm trying to do the podcast and I'm trying to do that, and I'm trying to
Yeah.
like opened up a new website for my crystal bracelets, but I've got to keep my attention
Mm,
focused on the podcast, and there's different things that I have to do. It costs money, and I'm not getting paid
right.
to do this. So it's,
Yes.
um, it's a lot. But we're we're doing what we feel we're being called to do. We're trying to be of service in the way that works for us, but starting out
Yeah.
in the early stages, I know we're going to grow. We're going to be able to be at a place where we feel that we have the financial abundance to be able to continue doing what we're doing, and also to live too, comfortably or whatever. We're not
Mm,
planning on becoming multimillionaires out of this. It's just to be able to be comfortable, but to be able to continue to provide, right? So it's,
mm,
yeah, it's not easy, and it's exhausting, and nobody understands quite the amount of work that it takes to do it all.
mm.
It's a lot of work,
Yeah.
a lot of work. But
Yeah. And I'm not saying that to like be like, oh, poor me. It's really
no,
just like, um, sometimes I feel limited by my humanness.
mm,
It's like it's like being a human. It's like, oh, I gotta take care of my body and I gotta, I gotta exercise and I gotta go to the
yeah,
doctor and like I'm tired, but I should be like working on this website or I should be
yeah,
working on this membership, or I should be figuring out better ways to make money. I shouldn't be giving away so much stuff for free. And it's just like, but
mm,
I want to help people at the end of the day.
I know,
So that's like priority one. And then
yeah,
it'll all fall into place, I
it
think, as
will,
it should, like you said.
yeah, it will for sure, it will. We just, it's just, yeah. So I think the more that we can support one another, the better it becomes, right? Like it just, I mean, we're all here just trying to do our best to help other people, so, and we're
Mm-hmm.
examples just by being in this book. We're examples of we have been through a lot, and we can come out of it and be stronger, and now offer things for other people, like just offer encouragement and inspiration for other people. And I think that's great, you know.
It is. It
Yeah,
really is. That's one of the things I love to do, and I'll continue to do it no matter what. And
yeah,
if I do end up becoming a multimillionaire, I would gladly receive that,
yeah.
and I will then use that multimillionaire status to do even more of what I'm doing. Like the
That's great.
goal
I guess I shouldn't
is
have
to do
limited
this
ourselves.
to
I shouldn't have said that.
like
With the universe, we're okay with becoming multimillionaires.
yeah,
We will give
yeah,
back even more.
yeah.
We're not saying we won't
I
accept.
know it's so funny. It's like when you said that, I was like, oh, Spirit, don't listen to her.
She
We
got
want to be multimillionaires.
Yeah, we're good with that. We're okay. We'll take that. We'll just give more back. That's all. That's all.
We'll give more back. I mean,
Yeah,
that's all about the manifesting abundance thing,
yeah,
is really like aligning your thoughts with like not there's no limit on what we can do. There's no limit on what we can make.
yeah.
It's all energy and it's all coming in and out. And like, no, I don't want to be a multimillionaire to like just to be able to say that I'm a multimillionaire,
Right.
but I want to be a multimillionaire to just do more of what I'm doing,
Yeah.
you know?
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. That's right.
I see these beautiful houses on the ocean now that I'm in Rhode Island, and I'm like,
Oh yeah.
that could be my house.
That's
That
right.
could be my house. Yep, I claim that.
Yeah.
Why is it like a me versus them thing? I saw this gorgeous house and I was outside their driveway and I probably looked really creepy. I mean, they had cameras, but it's a place where the public can park. And I
Right.
just remember feeling this like me versus them feeling like,
Mm.
well, I'll never have that. And then I just imagined myself walking through the lawn like it was mine and I was like, yeah,
Yeah.
that's the energy I want to call in.
And that's what you have to do, right? Like that's you do have to do.
Hmm.
You deserve whatever you want. Like you're,
Right?
yeah.
Why
You're
not?
allowed. It's okay.
I
It's
mean,
okay.
right now I'm coming at you from my mom's basement, but in a year, maybe I'll be coming at you from my house on the ocean.
and just make sure that there's a guest bedroom so I can come down and stay with you. I will cook or
Dude,
something.
I totally will. I totally will. And I love that, it's within driving distance for you to come down to Rhode
Yeah,
Island. So,
no, exactly. Exactly. Yeah, no, I
right?
definitely have to get there for sure. For sure.
You would
Oh,
love it here.
I know. Oh my God.
Like
So
so
beautiful.
much.
Just the pictures that I've seen that you've posted, I'm just like, oh my God, so beautiful. Oh, love
Yeah.
the ocean.
And I forgot because I grew up here, I took it all for granted and I forgot how lucky I was
Yeah.
to, at the end of my prom to be in high school to be able to go hang out on the ocean and just take it all in with my friends,
Yeah.
or anything that the ocean was just like baked into my everyday life.
Right.
I took it for granted, and it took me moving up to the top of a mountain in Vermont to realize like
Yeah.
this is really, I mean, this really feels like home to me.
Yeah. So lucky.
So I hope to someday have a retreat here in Rhode Island, and maybe that'll be your excuse to get here.
Oh, I'm coming. That's it. I will be coming. I don't care. I'm coming. You just tell me when and I will be there. Hopefully, sooner than later.
Well, I know I got so much to do. That's why I need this assistant. So if anybody's listening that wants to be my assistant, Linda's assistant, maybe we could share a digital assistant, a virtual assistant, whatever.
Yeah.
Bring it on.
That's right. I got crystal bracelets. You got crystals. We can do things.
We can pay you in crystals.
Yes. So we're calling on all the crystal lovers. Oh, this
Yes.
has been great, Rachel. Thank you so, so much
Yes.
for being here with me today. I loved it. Thank you so much for reading your story in your voice. It's so much better to have the author read her own story. So I'm so grateful that
Mhm.
you came on and did that for all the listeners. So thank you,
Thank
thank
you
you.
for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure. And yeah, thank you to everybody listening today. I hope you enjoyed our show. And I will put in the show notes ways that you can reach Rachel. And I guess the easiest place for them to reach is probably Instagram. Would it be? Would you say?
Yeah,
Or
I would say so. I'm most active on Instagram, so
okay,
you can find me there. It's heartspace.wellness, or my website is heartspacewellness.net.
right, okay. And I'll put that in there too in the notes or whatever as well, so that we have it written down as well, because I know I need that.
Thanks, Linda.
All right, my love. Thanks so much for being on. Thanks everyone for listening once again. And I am sending you all lots of love and light. Bye for now.
Bye.